We're moving on to our next story, which is something that was making the rounds. So we talked about last time we talked about Ghostbusters, the newest movie that's coming out, which we don't know what the name is going to be because it's technically not a Ghostbusters 3 necessarily. I mean, I think we may have called it that, but technically it's not officially a Ghostbusters 3, but it is a sequel to the original two Ghostbusters. And from looks of it, it seems as if this is going to be different than the 2016 version. It's not continuing that version. It might even be discontinuing that version, which is a little odd because Sony is still selling it. So it's kind of like you're making money off that version. Just as a brief recap as to what I said last time, and you can recap what you said last time, Tristan. I said, which you should still go watch the video, but what I said was, I feel like, you should at least try to incorporate the 2016 version into it in some way, because if you don't, it just makes it seem like a waste. And it's like, would you make that entire movie and then within a 4-year span just come out with a new movie? Like, it feels like you're trying to just beat a dead horse. And if you want to say Sony killed it, okay. Like, they're the ones who killed the horse. But, like, still, I feel like you should wait a few years before doing something like this. A few more. Because the Ghostbusters 2016 version, regardless of what you thought about it, came out in 2016. It's around 3 years, maybe. I feel like that's too soon to come up with a new movie that discontinues what the last movie had said. Anyway, I don't know I think you disagreed with me a little bit. Like, that was too soon. I think you disagreed with me on that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too soon to have another one. But...
Okay. But I just think it's too soon to have one that disregards its previous canon.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's usually saved for, like, a 10-year thing where it's like, actually, fuck that one. Let's go back to the original. To have it happen so soon is a little odd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the weird thing was it never felt like... It felt to me like both movies or...
No. They are. They're not in the same universe.
Right, yeah, that it was a completely different universe. So
it is.
It didn't matter. But the fact that coming out with this new one and seemingly going back to their previous universe and then acting like the new one never existed, that...
It doesn't come off right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it just seems off. We're not going to sit there and say that it's sexist or anything, but it's just off, right? At the first glance. Now, looking at what the Ghostbusters, this new director, who his dad worked on the original Ghostbusters, his name is the newest director is Jason Reitman. So in a podcast on Bill Burr's Monday Morning podcast, he actually, and remember that he's the son, like I just said, of the original film's director Ivan Reitman. So he had discussed a few different things. Now, in context, I don't think that what he said is bad, but I still think that it still is a little bit of a problem regardless, I think, sort of. So, like, here's the thing, right? So he says, starting off, this is going to be a love letter to Ghostbusters, said the director. I love this franchise. I grew up watching it. I consider myself the first Ghostbusters fan. I mean, to be fair, his dad was the director. So, like, sorry, like, he legit was the first Ghostbusters fan, probably. Right. I consider myself the first Ghostbusters fan. I was like 7 years old when that movie came out, and I love it. I want to make a movie for my fellow Ghostbusters fans. So in context, I don't think that in any way is saying, hey, he's saying anything bad about the 2016 version, like, oh, that wasn't for the real fans. No, he's just legit saying, like, hey, I grew up with this. My dad was literally the director. Like, this was a movie that I feel closely attached to. And of course, I'm sure that's why they brought him in to do this one, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. So, going to his next quote, he says, we went back to the work files for the sound of the proton pack. And we went back to the stems of Elmer Bernstein's score. And then he continues to say, just for where it says in the teaser, summer 2020. We went back and found the original vinyl letters they used to create the Ghostbusters poster in 1984, rescanned them, and then our title guys reprinted them. We filmed the titles, not like in a computer. We shot physical titles with a light and smoke effect, because that's how they would have done it in the day. We are, in every way, trying to go back to the original technique and hand the movie back to the fans. Right? So that, it just... Like hearing the fact, like I don't
Yeah,
care
the
about.
last line.
No, 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 no. I'm sorry. That was a happy grunt, not a sad, not an
Oh,
angry grunt.
okay.
No, no, because before that last line, as someone who loves to look up and see the effects and the technical side
Oh
of
yeah,
things,
right.
the fact that he did that has me like, oh god, like I'm just like I'm into
Yeah,
it. I'm
that
into
all
it a bit
sounds
too
great.
much. I'm into it a bit too much. But I don't know. I think like he says, you know what it is too. Like, okay, here's the problem, right? I think that it's frustrating because I think in the greater context, it just doesn't sound as bad as the name and the title of the article. Because the title of the article, Ghostbusters director Jason Reitman says sequel will quote unquote hand the movie back to the fans. With that context, without reading the article, I gotta be honest. Like, I don't want to. I'm not trying to shit on IGN for everything they do. It's just like looking at this, that to me immediately came off like fuck Jason Reitman because what Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't for the fans, right? That's my take on it. But when looking at the article, I don't know, man. Like maybe it's just me, but I feel like just him personally, being the director's kid, it makes sense that to him he would have an attachment to the original.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he's not just some dude on the internet who's
Right.
saying like rah 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 screw women's rights.
Yeah,
Like
and I really don't
he's
think
yeah.
it's in the sense that he ever thought,
Mm-hmm.
the other one was bad or anything like that.
No, he actually made a statement saying, "Hey,
Right.
this is not what I meant," on his
Right,
Twitter,
exactly.
which I'll find
Yeah.
right now as we're talking about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's unfortunate that it comes into that context and people
Yeah.
have to think about it. It's like, oh, are you shitting on the other one, or are you just, really enthusiastic about this because it's important to you?
Yeah, no, like I don't know, man. Like and it sucks too because look, I'm not saying that sexism again does not exist and that there aren't some directors who are clearly sexist and who, not even directors, just people in general who are coming out and are saying like, oh, good, thank goodness, this isn't that
Right.
original
Because then,
travesty.
yeah, you have those people that come out
Yeah.
like that. And be like, oh, well, thank God it's being handed back to the right people and the fans
And it's
and
like,
da 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 da. And
and
it's
it's like,
like,
no, 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 no. Like
not.
there. Like, was I the biggest fan of the 2016 version? No, but also, and this is Tristan can also say this too, we didn't grow up with Ghostbusters. So I think that we looked at both Ghostbusters 1, 2, and the 2016 version differently than I think other
Yeah.
people may have who may have been blinded by nostalgia. Not to say that the original Ghostbusters wasn't good, because it actually really was good. The original.
Yeah.
But I look at 2 and I'm like, I don't know. Like, depending on my mood, I'm like, either the newest Ghostbusters was better than Ghostbusters 2, or reverse, Ghostbusters 2 was a bit better than the 2016 version. But it really depends, right? It really depends on, my mood, because it's really hard to tell which one is better than the other one, because both of them, in my opinion, had really weak villains.
Right.
And it's also hard to compare because Ghostbusters 2 is expanding on the first one, where this one is trying to create a whole new universe from scratch, something that I think was a bad idea from the get-go. Anyway, so Jason Reitman had said, let's actually look at this comment right here. He said, whoa, that came out wrong. I have nothing for admiration for Paul. Paul, I believing, I don't believe he was the director. I believe he was the producer for the movie, though. Paul and Leslie and Kate and Melissa and Kristen, and the bravery with which they made Ghostbusters 2016. They expanded the universe and made an amazing movie. And when he says bravery, I know some people, they're like, oh, what kind of bravery? People getting threats, man. Like, Leslie Jones got death threats, and she got doxxed. Like, her personal photos were doxxed.
Oh,
And they were very explicit photos. So just because she's a black woman in a movie, and it's funny because you're gonna have someone in the comments gonna be like, no, actually it's not because of that, it's because she said this really bad comment here, and I have to sit there and be like, wait, so are you saying that she should have been doxxed then? Whoa, no, of course I'm not saying that. But then why would if you think that I'm not saying something, like, I understand if you're saying, hey, Matt, you didn't give the whole story. Please, you may have forgotten this. Please remember this nugget of the story. But what's just odd to me is, like, when someone says that, and in my head I'm like, but does that really change even my, like, that shouldn't change my opinion on it. I said she shouldn't have gotten doxxed for being in a movie. Like, I don't know why the reply is, you forgot this one comment that she made, though, a few years back. I still don't think she should be doxxed. Anyway, so my point is that, Tristan, is that, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like if that's all he said, if all he said was, this movie will be handed back to the fans, I'd be like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
But because he was saying it like in context of, hey man, like we're trying to like I wouldn't be surprised if he's just like, we found the original camera. Jason, please stop. No, we found the original camera. It was it was buried with the crew that originally made the movie. Jesus, Jason, what have you done? We did everything we
the
could.
original crew will be coming back as ghosts in the
It's
new
like,
Ghost.
Jesus
Whoa.
Christ. And when we say the original crew, we're referring to like tech crew and stuff. Like, but it's like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Jason, calm down. It's like, you don't
When I
understand.
say we have a skeleton crew for this
Jesus
movie,
Christ.
I mean they're
like-
literally haunting the set as I speak. Holy shit.
No, like we only say that because like it does sound like he's very invested in this movie, but I think he's invested into it because again,
in a good way.
In a good way. Like I mean, you know, man, like I just it's rough too because like, you know, we see a lot of stuff. We see a lot of sexism, racism, homophobia, like misogyny, so much that goes on in the world that comes from shitty people on the internet.
Right.
But I just feel like unless we hear some more things that are terrible, I don't feel like Reitman is that shitty dude on the internet.
Right, yeah.
Like, I feel like he just said it in the... like, I feel like this is... Because normally, and this is just me, Tristan, normally when someone says, Matt, you need to look at the context, I'm like, no, I don't think that there is a context to use the N-word appropriately at a work function. So maybe that guy should have been fired for doing that. No, but Matt, he was rapping. Who put on the song? He did. Yeah, again, I'm still saying that I think that in the context of it being a workplace environment, probably shouldn't have said the N-word even in the rap song. Like, I'm just putting that out there, right? Like, so when people say, like, oh, but think of the context. I look at the context and I'm just like, no, it still seems like the context is pretty bad. Not sure when we should blackface. I'm pretty sure never. Like, just things like that, right? Like, when is homophobia allowed? Never. All right, move on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I say allowed not like from a legal perspective, but like calling out criticism perspective. So, like, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, you can't just, you know, do shit like that and be like, but what about the context? It's like, no. But this is one of those cases, and if you think I'm wrong, Tristan, like, please, you know, call me out on it. But I feel like the context was not, even if the intent wasn't there, I don't, and I know, like, we're two dudes talking about this, so that might also be part of the a potential internal, you know, bias in the back of our minds that we're not thinking of. But for me, it's just, I look at this, and I just feel as if he was not being, even unknowingly sexist about it.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Tristan? Maybe I'm wrong because you just see, you know, because we have talked about and seen online a lot of people trying to gatekeep and talk about what true fandom is, right?
Right.
And I think that's
Yeah, I think it's, you know, that line does feel a bit off at the end, but I feel like the intention is coming from, bringing this movie to a place that the people who grew up with it, you know, will
and
really
I think
appreciate.
and I think the thing as well, something that we should acknowledge is that he never said men. Now I know he is a man, so of course, so maybe again, you know, internal bias unknown to him, he's thinking men. But I feel like just looking at what he said, like there are women who grew up who love Ghostbusters,
Right. Yeah.
and if there are people out there online who are like, no, they're not. Yes, there are. Like there are people out there who are women. Who have loved Ghostbusters growing up. It's just that simple. So it's not about, oh, you know, men versus women. The issue is, and I think Reitman definitely, we should probably say this earlier, he should definitely be cognizant about this when doing interviews. There were a fair amount of people online who, they weren't just saying, hey, I don't want to see the movie because it's not what I grew up with and I wish it was continuing the story. Not those people. Because there were some people that said that and I'm like, okay, that's a fair argument. You know, you don't have to go see the movie. Again, you're saying you're not going to see the movie. All right, bless your heart, do your thing. It's the people that said, oh, this movie is trash because women are in it. These women are unfunny. Women will never be funny. And all this stuff that you saw online and this vitriol that was surrounding it. I feel like Reitman should really be cognizant of that when talking about this and maybe think like, okay, like,
Let's not poke the beehive.
Yeah, I shouldn't, even though I am, like, he literally is an original fan. Like, I'm sorry, like, it's not just because he's a man. He could have been Ivan Reitman's daughter. and he would still be an original fan, right?
Right.
Just so happen to be a boy. If Reitman has a sister, I don't know if he does. If he does, also an original fan, right? So they're both original fans because literally their daddy made it, and so they might have even seen seen dailies and gotten a little bit, not like involved in it writing, of course, because they were children, but they literally could have gotten like their dad, like, oh no, kids, you're gonna love this, it's so cool. And especially it being that their dad made it, like usually with kids, either one of two things happen when a parent is in the entertainment industry. Either they go, oh my god, my parent is so cool, or they're like, oh god, I'm pretty sure it's Ryan. No, you know who? It's terrible. You want to know who Chris Pratt's kids' favorite superhero is?
Who?
Captain America. And he's told him it to his face. Literally, he looked at his kid after being in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's like, who's your favorite superhero? And he looked at him and he was like, Captain America. So what if the two things happen? Either, oh my god, my parent is so cool, or Captain America. So I think in this case, it's him going, oh my god, my dad was so cool, and gushing in a way that I hate to say it, but I think was taken out of context.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, too. The problem is that some people are going to say, oh, it's taken out of context by the libs. By the libs. No, I think it could also be something that's taken out of context by those, regardless of what you believe your political ideology to be, who shit on the 2016 movie going, yeah, it's coming back to us. Not you libs. And it's like, again, like he has to be cognizant of that. He has to just sit there, Reitman, and kind of balance his idea of like, okay, I'm in love with the technical aspects, and I want fans of the original, irregardless of gender, to be super hyped about this. But also, and he can't say this directly, of course, because he's doing promotional work, but fuck the people who are sending out death threats and stuff like that over a movie, right? So he has to do this, like, this weird, this jump, this bounce around. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the, hard part about just public statements or, anything public in nature is just difficult.
It's very difficult. It really is.
Or, I mean, not even just nowadays. That's a shitty thing that's a shitty way to phrase that. I'm sorry.
No.
Public,
it's what's
public
funny.
statements have always been.
No. I say nowadays because it's not about people who loved the 2016 movie. It's more so about the people who disliked it, not just because, oh, I saw the movie and it wasn't the best. No, it's the idea that people were sending these extremely vitriolic comments, these hateful comments, stuff that's like, you want to say that was sexist, but also you look at Leslie Jones and it ended up being racist as well, and all of the stuff that happened over just them being in a movie that people didn't like, that some people didn't like. So what I'm trying, before they even saw the movie, that's the thing too, like just looking at the trailers, and you don't have to see the movie based on the trailers, but so like when you said that, Tristan, I didn't take it the way you thought, because you were thinking like, oh no, like as if it's this generation. It's like, no, it's not about like a left or a right, it's just about people who were sending shitty comments, and it's about people who either like the movie or maybe didn't even like the movie, but they don't want those trolls to feel emboldened by the director of the film coming out and saying, hey, this is for you guys. Because frankly, I think those people are going to be disappointed, because I bet you money that one of the newer kid Ghostbusters is probably going to be a girl.
Right, yeah.
If it's only 4 boys, then I'd be like, Jason, you can make your own movie, Jason, but Jason.
Right.
But I have a feeling if it's going to be, let's say it's going to be about old Ghostbusters training new Ghostbusters, let's say, because I think that was I think that was what was released as like the discussion. I have a feeling one of them's going to be a girl. So if you don't like girls, I don't know. I'm just saying. I feel like it's just my speculation, but I don't know if Jason, if Reitman will not do something like that, because I feel like it's going to be a mixed cast. Like it's not just going to be because I think that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's the problem, because it emboldens some people to think like, ooh, it's going to be 4 white dudes, just like I remember it, just like Ghostbusters used to be, and it's going to be great. And it's like, probably not. Like we have no idea, right? Who's going to be in the cast? Right. So we don't even have the cast yet, like for the younger people in this. So so I feel like when it comes to Reitman, again, I don't think he meant it, but I definitely think he needs to think about it in the future. So that's our thoughts on it. But tell me what you guys think down below. Be respectful about it. But do you think that he what he said was sexist? Also acknowledge that intent doesn't equal impact. So he might not have meant to say something that's sexist, but you could argue that it is or isn't. Again, I want to hear what you guys think down below. Or do you think that maybe there's a history that I don't know about that says, no, this dude really is bad news? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him being bad at all in any way to any to anyone or saying anything inappropriate like this was initially picked up as. I'm just worried that maybe some people looked at the title of the article before actually reading it. Because when I saw the title of the article on Twitter, I didn't comment on it, but I was like, oh, right. Baby, no. Why you do this? Why you do this to Ghostbusters? And I read the article, and I was like, oh, he's talking about the technical side of things.
Yeah.
Like, if he's talking about the cast, I feel like there's no way to work around it. You know, there's no context. If he was like, oh, and when looking at the cast, too, oh, it's going to be just what you wanted, like, just the same and everything. I'm going to be like, Jason. But, like, the fact that it's, the fact that he's talking about the technical side of things. I mean, I've been recently watching a show called I Am the Night, and it's actually it's a documentary, but it's a fictionalized documentary, and the director was Patty Jenkins. She did Wonder Woman, and she brought in Chris Pine to do the show. Now, why is this relevant? She's filming on original cameras, right? Like original, like a film, not digital. She's shooting this on film, Tristan. And it's a show that just came out this past year. It's still airing. So I'm watching this, and when I saw that it was being done on film, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And if she was doing, like, some type of, like, talk, because the topic of the documentary type series is the Black Dahlia murders. So this is a very long time ago. So if she had said, oh, we're doing this on film because this is just like how big Hollywood was and how good everything was at the time, right? If she said something like that, I would feel odd if someone was like, really? So you enjoyed segregation? Like, no, she was not talking about that stuff. Because there is a lot of stuff regarding segregation at the time. It's like, she wasn't referring to segregation. No. She's referring to the film. So I feel like he's just referring to the techniques. If we see anything else that could be considered a dog whistle in the future, yes, that can be problematic. But I think as of right now, the dude was just gushing about film techniques. And that's it. So, but again, though, I do want to hear what you guys have to say down below.